Hello everyone, a very warm afternoon to everyone present over here. I am Saujanya from SRM University, Chennai. Hack the Mountain 2.0 welcomes you all for today's session. Yet another module of HTM Qubits, quantum of workshops packed together. I know all of you are very excited, so let's continue having the same enthusiasm for this event as well as for the upcoming events. Today we have our speaker, Mr. Vineet Nayak, who is a SEO specialist at Advisor. He is a Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador and the regional head of Girls Group Karnataka. With all his talents and wonderful experience, he would be better than no one else to guide us briefly through programming. Let's make the most of this session as it is an honor to have such an esteemed mentor here to guide us all. Hack the Mountains welcomes you, Mr. Vinny. Over to you, the stage is all yours.
Thank you, Saujanya, for your wonderful introduction. I think we are good to go, and let me start sharing my screen now. Will that work?
Yes,
Uh, Wait, give me a second. Pardon it. Okay. Sharing screen. Yes. Can you guys see my screen now?
yes, it's visible.
Okay. First of all, I would like to welcome each one of you for this amazing workshop on introduction to programming. So, an expert in anything was once a beginner. So, no matter where you are and at which point you are, but whatever you start, you are always starting as a beginner, right? So, you need not worry like I don't know programming or I'm not into programming till now, but I want to start programming. So, what matters here is a curiosity. Curiosity is the one tool which will like kickstart your journey in any career or any field for that matter. Okay, so I think I need not introduce myself again. So Saujanya has already introduced me. Anyway, so what will be agenda on today's workshop, right? So today we will be speaking about like what is programming, necessity, and I'm like let's look at it as we go further. Like let me not waste much of my time on the agenda part. Okay, so now the question arises here is like, what's programming? Like, since many of you are like new to this programming word, so it's like very common question that each one of us have that what is programming? So, programming is one tool which can be used to communicate with your computer to perform certain tasks. So, let's take a real time scenario wherein you're like working on your computer. It's the computer is basically your slave, or what we call it as your partner or your friend, anything, whatever you felt like. But the programming is one way of communicating with your computer, right? So you might be thinking, I am using my computer without any programming, but it's actually true, but it's not true actually, because whatever you're doing, there is some programming running in the background in your OS operating system, and it is performing the task for you. And what you're doing is just you are just using an UI which this developers have designed it for you. And give me a second. Yeah. Okay. Let's see another practical example. Like one of the example is like just the basic introduction that each teacher give to you, that is adding two numbers. But let's look at the practical example of like how the programming is used. For example, now there is one image in front of you, and let's quickly see like how to add some filter for this image. And yes, this involves programming too, but okay, so I'll be demonstrating it for you now. Yes, so I've written a program here for like adding a makeup. So I'll be running the program now, and you guys will see the photo with a makeup. So are you guys interested? So my code is running it in the background, and what I have done here is like I've added the makeup to each individual face one by one, and at the end you will get a amazing set of like complicated, everyone is having an amazing makeup, right? So these are basically the Instagram filters or whatever the filters you have in your camera that you use in your camera. So everything is like basically uses an amazing tool known as OpenCV and some other of course, but this everything is possible because of programming. So now you guys saw this, like this image, whichever you guys can see now, had no makeup, and on running a small bit of code, you guys can see like a entire image with a makeup, right? So what's happening in the background then? So what happens in the execution? Whatever the program that you write is basically stored in a ROM, that is your secondary memory. So like since I'm like a technical from a technical background, I'll be going bit technically towards the topic. But the one thing that you need to like always learn is being technical, right? So it's not just you are writing something writing a program and executing it, but you need to know that what exactly is happening in order to get that output, right? So say this is a basic architecture of your computer wherein you have your CPU, you have your RAM, and you have your ROM. So whatever the program you write and save it, it is basically saved in ROM, and the execution takes place at CPU. Okay, so now you might be thinking like why the RAM is used, right? So each executable files are brought into RAM, and then the CPU uses it from the RAM for the interaction or the execution. So let me not dive fully deep into it, but these are the things you need to remember in order to like understand the programming in much better way. So consider it this way. So ROM is basically used to store your program. RAM, it is the space while your program is getting converted into your executable files or something like that, and CPU executes your program for you and gives you the output, right? So next is the software. So what is a software? You guys are like familiar with like many imp softwares. You guys are using it in a real time. For example, one of the software is YouTube for that matter. So software is one such tool which takes in input from you and gives you an output, right? So what's happening back?
Excuse me.
Hello.
Vinith, your screen is not visible.
Okay, give me a second. So was the makeup thing visible?
Oh, it wasn't.
Okay. Pardon me. Okay. Anyways, so let's like quickly add a makeup again. So this is the image which is like without makeup, and I have written a code for the same image to get makeup, right? So let me quickly run that program for you. So I'm using a terminal here. So now on running it, so you guys can see the image is getting what we call makeup to each faces one by one again and again, right? So at the end you have an amazing set of uh, people with amazing set of makeup, right? Pardon me for the makeup because I'm like not a makeup artist, but anyways, like I've tried adding a makeup for their faces, right? So yes, that's how the things work. So yeah, and pardon me. Yes, so that was an one classic example where we use programming, and this was the thing I was talking about the CPU, RAM, and the ROM, right? So now the moment when you like go in for purchasing something, you will be like checking what is the RAM, what is the ROM. For example, if you are going to buy a laptop, so RAM and ROM, you will be checking it in the specifications. So the actual usage of the RAM and ROM is used basically for the program execution and storage purposes. And but trust me when I tell this, whatever happens in the background is the software that is executing, and you are like getting an live updates from the software. Yes. So this is the software thing which was I speaking about. So you guys have seen varieties of software, and one specifically is YouTube, which you guys are seeing me live now. So YouTube just takes the input from you. It may be the credentials, or it asks you what exactly you need to search, and it will pop out the output for you, right? So what's you might be thinking, so like what's exactly happening in the YouTube? So there are amazing set of developers who have like developed the code and have developed this amazing app using which you can are like asked only to give you the input, and you guys will be getting the output at the regular interval of time. So that is the basic usage of software. For example, you guys also may be familiar using the app known as Paytm for like just time to time like payments, right? For paying your friends or paying your shop owners or anything. So again, Paytm is a software which takes in the input and gives the output. So the main agenda of the software is like it takes in the input and gives the output. So here are the few analogies I would like to like introduce to you before we like dive into the introduction. So one is like a low level programming language and high level programming language. So there is okay, before we going to programming language, so I would like to give you analogies like low level language and the high level language. So whatever the we humans speak, right? So that is an high level language. And trust me when I tell this, whatever the language you speak, if you try communicating it with computer, so computer will tell you, hey nonsense fellow, what are you doing? So you are speaking something I am not understanding it, right? So I sorry for that nonsense word. Anyways, but this, according to you, the computer is so dumb that it can't understand you, right? So what does this mean? So computer is using a low level language, low level programming language, and it understands only the binary digits, that is 1010, the combination of digits, and it's considered as a low level language. And whatever we write or whatever we speak is known as like high level languages, and whatever we write in a programming languages is known as high level programming languages. For example, now if you write a short program uh, to print two numbers, for example, if we use a Python, we just take the syntax or the function print and so, you will get an output, right? So whatever you are writing it is you basically the high level programming language. And there is your one friend who is like converting whatever you speak and conveying it to a computer, basically what we call it as a compiler or an interpreter. So the two keywords, that compiler and interpreter, let me come back to it eventually while we walk through. But that converted language will have a digits understood by the computer, basically the language understood by the computer, and it's a low level programming language or a low level language, what we call. And until and unless you give a low level language to your computer, the computer will not be able to process whatever you speak. For example, say you created a file and you wrote something, but if you want that say you wrote a program and you have not installed the required software to run your program, so the computer just thinks it as a normal file, and it may think that you have stored some information in it and you cannot execute it, right? So it's very much necessary that you need to compile or interpret whatever the programming you write, and it needs to be conveyed to the computer using a low level programming language, and that is not your job. That job is done for you by the compilers or the interpreters. Cool. So let's quickly jump to like the history of programming. So how it all began? So in 1940s there was like something like the thought of programming came into picture, and 1950 we had the first programming language, and in 1960s there was like an amazing programming language with much of complexity known as basic programming language. And then there came a person you might be knowing, the founder of like programming or C language, the Dennis Ritchie, who like removed the complexity from the B language or the basic programming language, and he made it simple, and he designed a new compiler that is of a C language. But the problem was with the C language was it was a procedure oriented language, and it didn't had the object oriented concepts. So object oriented concepts are like really advanced language you guys will be learning eventually, and it's for now just remember the word object oriented or logical programming language. So then Benjamin Strauss, he designed or modified C language such a way that, and he gave another name known as C++, a language with an object-oriented concept. And don't get me wrong when I tell this, the C language and C++ language are totally different, because both have different analogies, but there are like most similar tools or features in both the language, but both can be used together as well as both can be used individually. And in 1980s there came a concept of GUI programming, which used started using GUIs. And in 1990s Microsoft designed this amazing tool known as like Visual Basics. So Visual Basics is basically used in Excel, so Microsoft Excel. So at the background of it you guys can basically program. I think you guys have not gone through it, and if you have gone through it, amazing. But yeah, it's again the Google Sheets or the Microsoft Sheets uses Virtual Basics in the background. You guys can program using Visual Basic and to get a desired output. And again the era of Java came into picture in 1990s. So Java is like was an amazing competitor for C++, since like there was easy implementation in Java, and they were the concept of like packages and amazing different things came into picture while this programming language called Java came into picture. And it was like platform independent and platform dependent. So I will like brief you about the platform independent language, that is Java, and platform dependent language Java. When we speak about like how to choose a programming language, so I have designed a separate part for it. And yeah, in 1999 there was another platform known as .NET platform by Microsoft, and in 2000 the web programming came into picture, wherein you started using PHP and different scripts, JavaScripts. And from 2010 the parallel computing is basically like you are performing n number of tasks at the background parallelly. It's basically a multitasking that you guys are doing. For example, now you guys may be listening to me, and you guys may be like indulged in some other activities too, right? So that's the that way of implementation was brought into computers in the early 2010s. Okay, so now you guys know what is programming, and you guys have some history knowledge. So history is like total optional. It's like totally left up to you whether you guys know it or not. But next comes is like what is the necessity of programming or learning programming, right? So most of the things that we see today has the program running in it in the background. For example, if you guys may be having a washing machine in your home, or you might guys may be having a television in your home. So no matter what you have, the any electronic items for that matter, it has the programming, at least a short what we call it a chip or something, chip level programming is involved in each one of it, and because of which you guys are able to get the maximum benefit from it. And having said that, since there are like most number of things that we see today have the programming in it, so programming is one such field which is like global now, and we can call it as a gold mine because it's providing us a bread and butter, which I think provided easily if we learn some of the concept. And usage of programming language globally has made it a gold mine for ones who are interested to work with it. And yes, Definitely, the programming is one such tool which can be your partner at times when you're bored, and there are like human, various like humanoid chatbots and stuffs which have been developed for you guys. Whenever like you feel bored or you feel depressed, you guys can use it, and it will make your mood cool in short period of time. Yes, and yes, definitely you guys can like automate the process, right? So for example, now you guys don't like cooking, so you guys can develop a one robot or one companion for yourself which cooks for you, right? So that's how amazing is programming. And if you learn programming, you guys can do amazing wonders in this life. Okay, and one more thing, the interesting factors about the companies that use programming. Every companies, for example, now you guys have might have seen the Hack the Mountains website, or website of an advisor, right? So starting from the small young budding startups like advisors, or even I think your different startups for that matter, to the big tech giants like Google, Facebook, etc. use programming. Which programming language? It's like depending on the ideologies or the programmers or the developers they get. But yes, all these companies use programming languages these days. Almost all the industries are getting automated and are adopting programming language to get the optimized result. For example, now so there are like you guys might be knowing about this mining industry. So the mining industry, you guys might be thinking like how the mining industry use the programming language. So what these days developers do is, so mining industry developers, they are like using the C++ tool to store the details of like the total mines generated or how it's been generated. Everything is stored in the database using a program C++, and they use other SQL and stuffs. And yes, they are using programming at the back end and sometimes in the front end as well. Okay, so now that was a necessity since there are like many companies using programming these days. So I think if you want to get that bread and butter from that company, right? So then you definitely would have to like start learning programming. And one more thing, this is a global statement given by Steve Jobs, that everyone in this country or in this world should learn program a computer because it teaches you how to think. The programming languages are just a language, it's just like an English or it's just like a French or something, but it's just used to communicate with your computer or with an operating system. So when you start learning to program or start learning coding, you will develop this habit of working out your own way. You will start to think like how can we optimize this, or how what can be better than this, right? So that sort of freedom is provided to you by the programming languages. And programming helps you to start thinking logically, and this gives you to the more creative thoughts. For example, now, don't get me wrong when I tell this. So now you might not be creative, right? So once, trust me when I tell this, or if you don't trust me, just experience it in your lifetime. So once you start learning programming and once you start programming, trust me when I tell this, your creativity level will be at its maximum or at its best. So programming is one such tool which will help you improve your creativity as well. So what is the best age to learn programming? So I'm not sure about what is the group age or the age group of people are attending this program, but there is like no age restrictions for learning programming. Programming is similar to learning music. So music can be learned at different stage of time, right? So you guys can start learning when you're age of 7, or you might be learning it when you're like old and like old aged, right? So yes, similarly the programming is uses the same analogy. And I came across this article in Quora wherein I got to know there was like one woman who like started learning programming in the age of 85, and she had joined the university as well. And she was like the most curious programmer that the university had found. And at the age of 95 85, she had learned programming, and she had programmed, and she had mentored after she had learned that, right? So yes, though the age restrictions for programming is totally null. So you guys are, say, if even though if you guys are of age of like 40, 45, or 30, 35, you guys can learn programming, and you guys can rock with the programming. And all that is required, as I said earlier, is the curiosity. Curiosity is a key to success in any career that you opt for, and especially in the programming as well. Okay, so now you guys came across different things. So now you know which are the companies that use programming language and stuff. So how to kickstart a programming career? Say now you have no programming language or knowledge. So let's see how to do it. So the first thing that you need to do is be curious and be patient, because like once you start learning the programming language, so I think you might face lots of issues. You might get an amazing number of like bugs. You might get enormous number of errors. But trust me when I tell this. And each time when you solve these errors, right, so you get that what we call the sweet experience, which you would like never like to forget, and it will make you happy, right? So errors and stuffs are common, so don't just bother it, but try to rectify it each and every time you come across it. And one more thing, so in the earlier days, in maybe in the 1990s or 1970s, we didn't had so much luxury to, I mean, I'm not of that era, but yes, I'm like just sharing you the experience. But they didn't had that luxury to learn everything and anything online, right? So they had to depend on a particular university and or a particular gurukul system also. And they used to learn these things from their gurus. But in this generation, we have that luxury to learn everything online. And trust me when I tell this, we have everything, each and every information bit online available for us. And we guys can access it any point in time, right? So say now you made your mind fixed that I want to learn programming and I'm going to learn programming, and you will be giving your 100% into it, and no matter what comes to your mind, so you will not change your mind. Say like one error you got which might be difficult for you, which might be simple for anyone else. So having said that, you should not lose the interest, right? So you need to keep up the interest, and curiosity is a key. Again, I'm like stressing on this word curiosity, because curiosity is like very much essential no matter what you do. And once you like start getting the basic knowledge about the programming languages or different stuff, so you, it's recommended that you start a side project. So the project can be anything, like the project can be as simple as like creating an calculator, a simple calculator which calculates something for you, right? So start creating a project and go an extra mile and try like making some jugaad sort of things with the codes. So yes, the codes are available in Google. Yes, there are like all things available in the Google, right? But trust me when I tell this, if you guys play with the codes that are available, you will get a maximum uh, like knowledge when you play with the code. Because a little modification to the code, you will face an error. And at the end you will be thinking like why this error is here. And as I already told, or as the Steve Jobs had told, the programming helps you think, right? So when you and come with some errors, you guys will think, you guys will start thinking. And once you start with your like side project, and once it reaches a certain amount of phase or something, get your code reviewed by your peers or your mentors. And always I would like to recommend you guys, just see like in your university or in your neighborhood who guys who know programming, and just tie up with them, and then just learn from them, because the peer-to-peer learning is one of the best learning that you will get in any of the ages. And never pretend that you know everything and anything, right? For example, I had my friend, so I would not like to name him, but he knew programming. I mean, he used to pretend that he knew programming, and when I had asked him some of the doubts, or I just pulled his leg, he didn't know anything, right? So never pretend that you know everything, but be curious that I know something, but I want to improve myself with the programming, right? So if you follow these tips and tricks that I have given to you, and trust me when I tell this, मैं free में tip किसी को नहीं देता, but today since I am like called in as a speaker, I think this was the best time to give you the tip. So, and yes, please take this step and start your programming journey. Okay, so now you guys might be worrying, right? So, okay, whatever this fellow has told me, I have understood it. But which programming language should I choose? There are varieties of programming languages like C, C++, Java, Python, Ruby, JavaScript, HTML, CSS. Yes, there are n number of programming languages, and trust me when I tell this, there are like few programming languages getting developed as well. And so you might be in a dilemma that which programming language should I begin with, right? So yes, so these are the huge set of programming language that we have: TypeScript, Java, Scala, and B, PHP, etc. So here is the like chart, or what we call statistics of the programming language, or the most popularly used programming language. And this is of the survey that was done in 2018 by NDTV or something. And according to which 67.7% user have told that they use JavaScript. Anyways, so to begin with, you might be thinking that the C or C++, which is like called a master of programming language, have like a really less popularity, because all this Python and Java have provided you that facility of like making your code simpler, and you guys need not waste much of your time like writing a programming language, and you guys can spend more time on thinking the logic, right? But the C and C++ are two such programming languages which have lots and lots of syntaxes and lots of jugards. But trust me when I tell this, no matter what its popularity is and no matter how it works, C and C++ are one of the best programming language to kickstart your journey. Because if you like learn how the C programming works, or how a C program is, right? So you guys can learn, or learn any other programming language in a very short amount of time. For example, say you learned the basics of C programming in 1 month, and you guys wanted to like shift or switch the programming language or learn some other programming language. And here now, say if you wanted to learn Python for that matter, right? So trust me when I tell this, so you have taken 30 days to learn C programming, but you guys can learn Python within a short period of time, that is less than 30 minutes. It can be a week, or it can be in 2 or 3 days, right? So, and Python is like one of the easy programming language, because most of the syntaxes or things are made user friendly, and it's a general purpose programming language again. So easiest programming language to learn, and every programming language is like easy itself, because like until and unless we don't know anything, everything seems difficult for us, right? So there is a quote saying that untraveled journey is the hardest journey, right? So because like we guys have never been through that journey, and we might be in a thinking that that journey might be difficult and I'm not into it. But until and unless we like start that journey and go across it, and face the challenges, we will be in a situation where everything seems easy after reaching a certain extent of time, right? So every programming languages are easy to learn and easy to implement, and it's just the curiosity that keeps pushing you. But here are the few programming languages like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Python, C++, etc. you guys can like begin to code with. And here are certain few new languages that coming into picture, not exactly new, but they are sort of new in the industry now. The languages like Go and R, etc., right? So these languages are present in the world now. You guys can like start using learning C and C++ in the initial stage, and learn each of these things as you continue your journey or your career in your programming. Okay, so while choosing a programming language, so here is one more keywords, two keywords I would like to like introduce to you. So that is that interpreter and compiler, right? So eventually in the beginning I spoke that for now, let's keep it compiler and interpreter are the same, but they are not same, right? So the compilers are basically the software or the what we call OS dependent languages, or the OS dependent tools, but the interpreters are like not depending on your machines, right? So what happens in the compiler is, right, like say now, let me like start differentiating between interpreter and a compiler. So C, the programming languages like C and C++ use the compiler, while as the programming languages like Python and Java are called as interpreter languages. So the major difference here is the job of the compiler is to like convert whatever the program that you write in a high level language into a low level language, which is understood by a machine. And once you like run the program, so it's like depending on only a specific platform. Say now you developed a C program, which is like working in Windows for that matter, and if you try to run the same programming language in different OS, for example Linux or something, so you guys may be getting a different output. So it's because the compilers are designed to a specific platform, and each compilers have different features, and they during which the concept of interpreter came into picture, and the programming languages like Java, Python started using a interpreter. Yes, so what happens here is, so once you like write a program, and once you bring it into a executable form, so the executable form is like same in whichever system you use. For example, if you use Windows, or if you use Linux, or even if you use Mac for that matter, so all of this gets converted into a same form, and you will be getting a same output no matter which system or which platform you use. So that is one of the basic difference between the compiler and interpreter languages. And what happens in the interpreter is, yes, interpreter is again uses a compiler to compile the things, but it is like it uses slightly different technology or knowledge here again. And but since interpreter uses the compiler again in the background, the execution of interpreter is like a real slightly slower compared to the compiler, because once it converts the code, it will have to again convert into a compiler language, because the your machine has to run it. But yes, in the interpreter languages, the code once written can be like accessed in any of the other languages, any of the other platforms, right? So hence most of the like companies go with interpreter languages, and some compiler developing companies, or some which uses assembly level languages and stuffs, go with the compiler level programmings, right? So this might be a thing which can be like beneficial while choosing interpreter and compiler language. But yes, if you learn the compiler level languages like C and C++, which uses compiler to like generate a machine code, the learning of interpreter level languages will be easy for you guys. So ends, I suggest you guys to like start with a compiler language and then eventually go to a interpreter language. Okay, so what matters in the programming? So it's not the code anyone can write it. It's not the syntax that you have. The syntax can be written by anyone, and once you guys learn the syntax, you guys can use it. So syntax, okay, so the programming languages are like the abcds that you learn in the English language, for that matter, or what you have in your Hindi, AAE, and etc. So the programming language are the same thing. The languages like English, Hindi, and Tulu or Konkani, whatever is there. So it's basically used to interact with the individual, but the programming languages are used to interact with the computers, right? So what matters in programming? So you might be thinking, why is this fellow showing me a bulb and telling this matters in the programming, right? So it's not that thing. So bulb is basically a representation for the logic. So it's basically I guess you guys have seen this advertisement wherein advertisement of mentors wherein monkey like eats Mentos, and it will show you the bulb saying that dimag ki batti jala de. So it's similar to that. I just brought this logic in the form of like bulb, and the logic is the key behind everything. So no matter how much time you spend writing a code, it doesn't matter. What matters is like how quickly you can like get that logic, or what we call as algorithm, right? Algorithm is basically a set of instructions. For example, now you want to like prepare your favorite dish, for that matter, made it can be a paneer butter masala, right? So there are like certain steps that are like to be done. So, and that is a logical part, and if everything implemented in a proper way, you guys will get a amazing paneer butter masala at the end. Similarly, that can be implemented in the programming language as well. So if you guys know it and learn it, and you guys think logically, yes, you guys can write any sort of programming language. Programming is all about learning a syntax, and at the end what matters is what you want to communicate with the program, your computer, right? So if you want a computer to perform a certain set of tasks, you need to be sure that what task the computer has to do. If you just tell the computer, hey computer, just do this task, so what does this means, right? So that this is a logic, and you will have to write the logic. And you and trust me when I tell this, you are writing a program for the logic that you know, right? So everything that matters is a logic, and while learning, what matters is a curiosity. And logic and the curiosity, when brought together, you will get an amazing output. Okay, let's see, time for some magic, or what we call as live demonstration. So I have developed my personal assistant to get a small, like minor piece of information for me from Google or from the browser also. So my assistant like gives me information from Wikipedia and search me some courses, specialized courses also, and can open me any website which I ask for. Okay, let me like show you the demonstration of it live, right? So now I have written a code for it. I'll be showing a code to you in a short period of time. So now let me run it. I think Samay, why can you please confirm whether the voice is audible of a computer? I'll be running it now.
Good afternoon. I am your personal assistant. Please tell me how may I help you?
Open Google. Yes, you guys can see that I have not opened the Chrome. So the assistant itself opened me a Chrome, and so now let me like, I think my assistant is like a little bit naughty. I think it's listening to me now. Okay, anyways, open YouTube. Okay. Yes, it basically listened to me in the background, and it opened a YouTube for me. And look, as I told, my assistant is a little bit naughty. Okay, now let's like quickly get details of Sachin Tendulkar from Wikipedia. My assistant, can you like search something about Sachin Tendulkar from Wikipedia? Is still listening for me? Okay, open Wikipedia and tell me about Sachin Tendulkar. Okay, so I think
Searching Wikipedia.
okay, so it got terminated because like it had listened to me in the background. But let me show
Good
how.
afternoon. I am your personal assistant. Please tell me how may I help you.
Okay, search about Sachin Tendulkar from Wikipedia. I think it will open it by
Searching
itself.
Wikipedia.
So it got
Good
thank.
afternoon.
Okay,
I am your personal assistant. Please tell me how may I help you.
tell me about Sachin Tendulkar from Wikipedia.
Searching Wikipedia. According to Wikipedia, Kabhayagnavidu, Lit. Were Once Strangers, is a 1985 Indian musical romantic drama film directed, edited, and produced by Vijay Singh. Story was written by Rohini Paparda.
Okay, it was like naughty, like it didn't listen to me and give me a proper output. Anyways, like this is the assistant that I have designed, and trust me when I tell this. So when I designed this assistant, it like had enormous number of features. I planned of adding enormous number of features, and I came across different sort of errors, and it's still in the development phase. And eventually, I think I'll be planning it to like develop in the in a much better way. So anyways, like it was a live demonstration that I wanted to show to you guys, and pardon me for like my assistant like not working as per my instructions, because I need to like teach some instructions for it again, right? So yeah. And one more thing, so programming language, learning programming is fun. And once you learn programming, the things that you can do is like much more fun, right? So now if you like know programming language, and you guys can use that programming language as a tool, like don't get me wrong when I tell this, but my friend used programming language as a tool to propose his girl, right? So that's how fun is a programming language. Or you guys can like fool your friend saying that your computer has been hacked by using programming, right? You just make a random things running on its or her screen and fool them that saying that hey, someone have hacked your computer and he might be calling you right back to ask some of the money, right? So yeah, so that sort of like it can be used to scare someone, or yes, it can be used for funning. And again, so now say you have a younger nephew of you who tell him that you will show a magic and ask him to run the code, and it will run. So and eventually make some changes and throw out the error, and that time see the reaction of your nephew, right? So it will be like really amazing. So that's how you guys can like make fun with the computer. And yes, before going to data structures, like I would like just like to show you the code that I've written for like the makeup thing and the assistant thing. For makeup thing, it's basically 22 lines of code which have made a job for me, right? So think it of this way. The reason why I'm showing you the code is like just to motivate you guys. Say the task which made you boring, for example, you guys want to send a mail to someone, but it's a boring task for you. Say for that matter, you guys can automate it by writing a code, right? So and that code you guys can write in a like very short lines. It may be like maximum up to 50 lines, or it can be up to 10-20 lines depending on the programming language that you use. And yes, the programming is like really simple, and if you learn it thoroughly, I think you guys can do wonders in programming. And the programming language I used here is like Python, and the Python has like different number of libraries. I have imported it and I have used it for like running my assistant. And yes, for running my assistant I have just used 199 of code, and that simple is programming, right? So yes, I recommend you guys learn programming in a much better way and get the maximum from it. Okay, so let's move to the next topic, that is data structures. So what do you think is a data structure? When I tell this word data structure, do you think it's something like a structure which is used to store a data? Yes, it's a same way. Now I gave you that analogy in the beginning part wherein you have a CPU, RAM, and ROM, right? So in CPU you have some registers to store a memory, store something, some data, and in a RAM you guys can store the data which is being used by the program that is being executed, and in the ROM you can store the data which is like not being used, right? So data structures are basically just that. They are the structures which can hold some data together. Like say if you're using a programming language and you want to add two numbers, right? So for adding two numbers, you will have to like use two variables. So what are variables? You will learn it when you start learning some new programming languages, and each variables will be of a certain type, right? For example, 10 is of type integer. So I think this is a basic math that you guys have learned in your school or in your college for that matter. And all the sort of typical representation and usage of it in the programming language has been made using a structure known as data structures. In other words, these are used to store a collection of related data. Again, there is a concept of database management system, which is like typically not a programming thing, but in a programming language, the date how you use a data, that is by using or by knowing by using the data structures for that matter. And every programming language have different data structures, logically might be same but may have different syntax to use it. And yes, so learning data structures is like a really important. So in the point of interview point of view or any point of view, everything begins with your interest and curiosity to learn programming. So and be thorough with the data structures, because most of the companies, while in the interview process, they ask you about these things, right? So yes, so this was a basic description or introduction to data structure. Data structure in particular is a vast topic. I think I need again one workshop more to like speak about data structures and teach you guys data structure in from scratch. Anyways, so since this is an like introduction to programming session, like I just wanted to introduce a data concept of data structure to you guys, so that when you like start learning programming, you guys will be like familiar with this data structure, right? Okay, so let me like quickly give you the statistics and insights of like learning programming and what are the basic bread and butter that you get from the companies. And the bread and butter here refers to the average number of salary that you get or something like that. So and here is a beautiful graph shown for you, which I generated using not me, some developers generated using programming. Again, programming is used here, and this is a basic insight. And trust me when I tell this, so eventually when you start your journey in the programming field, you will start getting an average salary of like say anywhere around 4 to 5 lakhs. It's an average salary, right? And depending on your experience, and eventually your experience will grow and your skills will improve, and depending on your performance, right? So your salary may get hiked to any amount of level, right? So that's how it gives you both bread and butter. And the insights of salaries, and this is just a beginner level salary insights, right? And eventually, if you go, I have a few of my colleagues working in the top tech giants like Google and some, and they are earning huge amount of money. But it's not about the what money we earn, but the moment of like memories, or what we call it as like happiness that we get from programming is like enormous things. So you guys may ask good programmers or who are in different programming institutes for that matter, just reach them out once and just get this insert of like how programming language is much better, right? Or what happiness it gives to you, right? It's just like playing a cricket with your friends, but programming that you are doing with a group of friends or alone for that matter. Okay, and here are different huge domains of programming that you have, and especially in speaking about the computer science industries that we have vast industries like computer vision, social analytics, mobility, IoT, data science, machine learning. These are something that are like in trend now and will try to be in trend in the further days. Apart from this, there are like amazing different focus areas in everything for that matter. Say if you are interested in electronics and you are also interested in programming, then you have electronics, I mean IoT is one such area wherein you guys can work with electronics along with programming, right? So programming languages are used in different domains, and it's not, programming is not only about CS. So say now ISRO have launched a rocket, right? So every rocket has been programmed internally, right? So again, the space industry, the film industry for that matter, uses programming language in its own way. Even okay, so let's take sports for that matter. So now if you see the IPL is coming in the nearest days, and you guys will see in your TV that the team, the live scores, right? So everything has its own program written in its background, and you guys are just using it, right? So yes, the domains and the areas that are available in programming is like really vast, and you guys can do wonders in this domains, and you guys can have your own startups and bring in new technologies if you have this basic knowledge of programming, right? Okay, so now we have came across some of the few amazing introduction about programming, but now where do we start learning programming, right? So there are like plenty of online platforms available like W3 School, Geeks for Geeks, and Hack the Mountains, everything, right? So everything are using is or are using programming language here and there, and are teaching the learners programming. And there are certain set of institutes which are like giving you like paid opportunities to learn from them. Yes, but this is the 21st generation wherein we have huge number of data that is being provided in available in the Google, but searching in this huge amount of data what we need by can be done using trial and error method, but it's like totally impossible for you guys, or it's like totally you guys will be wasting enormous number of time or money by just experimenting these things, right? So to make your job easier of like searching the courses or getting a mentorship or internships or working with a company or getting a job, so it's basically a full pipeline, right? Learning something, applying it, and working for it, everything has been made available for you in a fingertips by the advisor. So sorry, I'm not promoting advisor, but I advisor is like really amazing platform which you guys must try it at least once if you are like a beginner, because like advisor has amazing number of things. Like let me just show it to you now, uh like like how to learn and how to stuff. So I'm not promoting anything, and sorry for my edge thing. So hopefully advisor opens. Okay, yeah, so advisor is one such platform which provides you everything. So now you guys have like seen what are the things, how the fascinating is programming language, right, and everything. But Advisor again has used its own mechanism and it has used its own tool like to develop this thing, and they have made your job easier. Okay, pardon me. Okay, I would like just say, if you're not if you don't want to learn anything but you want to apply for something, right, you guys can go into like advisor.com and like just start learning from it and start applying for an internship. Pardon me, my like internet is like really weak, and sorry for it. And hopefully I think you guys liked my presentation. You guys can visit Advisor any point in time, and you guys can start learning from it. And yeah, thank you. And that's what I wanted to share with you guys today, using this workshop of like introduction to programming. And this is just an introduction to programming. And yes, if once you start programming, and trust me when I tell this, you will come back to me and tell, hey Vinith, thank you for like recommending to learn programming, and I'm in love with programming now. Yes, the programming is that awesome, and it's also a amazing field to grow your career, right? Yes, I think that's pretty much I wanted to share with you guys, and thank you for listening to me for around 1 hour on this day of Sunday. Yes, over to you, Saujanya.
Wow, that was really an awesome session. So now let's quickly go forward and like see the questions which we have here. So guys, if you have any doubts, please like post them in your comments so that like we can go ahead and ask. So we have a question from that one. He asked, "Can we get the codes that you showed to us?"
Yes, sure. I can do it. Okay, I'll be adding it my Git profile, and I'll be sharing with the team. So I think the team can then reach it out, give it back to you. Will that work?
Yes, I think we can do that.
Okay.
So any other
Anyways, like
questions?
yeah, I'll be like sharing a link to my GitHub repo. So I'll be adding it in a short period of time, maybe after 1 hour or so after this workshop. You guys can take it from it. Will that work?
Yes.
Okay.
So any other question? Okay, I think that's it. So thank you so much, Mr. Vineet, for taking your time off your busy schedule to be with us here today. It was an amazing session. It was amazing to hear out your valuable insights you had for us. I'm sure our audience enjoyed listening to the session. Before we sign off, I would like to mention that the feedback form link will be posted. Please fill that up as soon as possible so that you are eligible to grab your Hack the Mountain participation certificate. Stay tuned with us for the next session. See you all there. Thank you everyone for being a part of this session.
Thank you, guys.